Today, I'm going to talk about my favorite true wireless earbuds for running. .13 miles, 10 minutes, 5 seconds per mile, about 137 beats per minute on average. I think, again, I'm really missing my chest heart rate monitor going off what the watch is giving me. So I think that's about what my heart rate was. But in any event, getting a good 70 minutes of sweat test running in the Airpods Pro and kind of closing out my testing for all of the true wireless earbuds that I've been looking forward to, released in 2019. Now, before I get into my thoughts about which one of these that I love the most, I do want to go over some disclosures. There's 4 earbuds that I'm going to be talking about today. 3 of them, the Powerbeats Pro, the Airpods Pro, and the Jabra Elite 75T, are all earbuds that I purchased with my own money. The Jaybird Vista that I'll also be talking about was a product that was sent to me for the purpose of review. However, no one is paying me to make this video. No one is paying me to use any of these earbuds, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. Now, with the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about my favorite true wireless earbuds for running in 2019. So I'm going to look at 5 categories just to kind of make this a little bit more manageable and kind of break down the way that I approach running earbuds. And the first category I'm going to look at is sweat, how well they stay in, even if you're a really sweaty runner. The next one I'm going to talk about is pass-through audio. In other words, are they using the microphones to take that ambient world around you and pump that in to mix it with the music or the podcast that you're listening to? Third thing I'm going to look at is battery life. Then I'm going to look at the sound quality as well. I mean, you're running in these or you're bicycling these or you're going to be working out in these. So sound quality isn't the number one priority for me, but it is still very important. And the last thing I'll talk about is navigation, or like the buttons. How do you operate them? So let's talk about the sweat test first. So I've had a chance to sweat test all these earbuds, most of them over the last couple of weeks as it's been getting cold in Chicago. I'm spending a little bit more time on the treadmill. Not necessarily because I've had to. The weather hasn't been that bad yet, but I have been wanting to do the sweat testing on these earbuds. The Powerbeats Pro, I sweat tested those all over the summer. I got some more kind of real world testing environment that way, being able to run with those out along the lakefront as I was training for the Chicago Marathon. In terms of the sweat test, there's kind of 2 things that I think go into that. One is weight and one is the fit. And I'll kind of talk about those as I talk about these different earbuds. Now, I would say that the lightest of all these earbuds is the AirPods Pro. And I think those also did the best in terms of the sweat test, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. So that was a nice little surprise there. The next lightest one, I think it's pretty close between the Jabra Elite 75T and the Jaybird Vista. None of the earbuds fell out. So those all did relatively well. The Powerbeats Pro, I think, is kind of the king of the sweat test in terms of it has the over the ear loop. So if you are an absolutely prodigious sweater, you sweat all the time, I think that's ultimately the way you're going to go. For me in the winter time, though, I'm running outside with a winter hat. The over-the-ear design and the way that they stick out just a little bit further makes them a little bit uncomfortable to wear. So I'll be going to the true wireless, kind of the in-the-ear, the smaller the better kind of style for a lot of my winter running. Now, in terms of the pass-through audio, only 2 of these models offer pass-through audio, and that's going to be the AirPods Pro and the Jabra Elite 75T. This is a feature that I love, and I think that in this price range that we're talking about for all these earbuds, over $150, I think this is like a must-have feature. I'm not sure if it actually makes you safer as a runner while you're out there, but if that's something, being able to hear the world around you, in addition to be able to see the world around you, is a concern for you, then I think something with pass-through audio is something that you want to be looking for. I think the Jabra Elite has been doing a really great job of it. It also lets you mix just how much through the app of the ambient world around you that you want to mix in with your music, I always crank it almost all the way up. Although there's been times on the AirPods Pro where I'm running by the lake and I hear waves crashing and it's windy, where I wish I could dial down the ambient noise mixture just a little bit on that kind of run if I know it's going to be a really windy day. That being said, I do think the AirPods Pro does a much better job in terms of bringing that outside world into you, whether you're listening to podcasts or music. I feel like the microphones are much more sensitive in terms of when I'm hearing a sound that's being pumped into the earbuds, I can tell like which direction it's coming from. The Jabra Elite 75T, I sometimes can only tell if it's behind me or in front of me, and sometimes even that doesn't always work out all that well. And again, I'm not sure how much safer it makes you. I haven't done like a study to back that up. But I can tell you when I'm running on a dark trail, when it's before sunrise, or even when I'm just in the exercise room in my building downstairs, I'm getting less surprised by things. I'm getting less startled by things because I can kind of hear them first before I can see them. And other earbuds like the Jaybird Vista and the Powerbeats Pro that don't have that pass-through audio, you're a little bit more closed off from the world around you, and some things can kind of sneak up on you. So again, I'm not sure if the safety claims are necessarily there. I feel better having that feature. I really love having the feature. I think the AirPods Pro does the best at delivering the outside world in. A lot of this stuff comes at a price, the small size, the lightweight, all these extra features like pass-through audio take a toll on battery life. The AirPods Pro definitely have the worst battery life out of all of these. It's the only one out of all these where I'm not sure it would make it through an entire marathon. It would be almost kind of like, it depends on how long it takes you to run a marathon, which in my case makes me nervous, because if you want to listen to music before the race as you're warming up, maybe you want to close off the world around you and not kind of be affected so much by all the nervous energy that's at a race. You might want to have the earbuds in playing before the race starts. You might want to then also have the music for you in the later stages of the race when you need that kind of extra motivation the most. And so the AirPods Pro, depending on how long your marathon is, might not be there for you by the end, unless you want to carry the case with you. But if I'm racing, I'm not sure that I want to carry a battery case with me. The rest of these have really great battery life. The battery testing that I've done, I haven't run with them long enough to drain any of their batteries, not even the AirPods Pro. I think 2.5 hours is the longest that I've run in any of these earbuds at a time, and at no point did any of them get below 50%. Most of them, the Jaybird Vista and the Jabra Elite 75T, usually end up at about 70% battery life left if I start off at 100 after over 2.5 hours. So definitely going to give you plenty of time to get through your marathon that way. I think the battery king of all these is going to be the Powerbeats Pro. They are bigger. There's a little bit more room to put a battery in there. They say that there is 9 hours of listening time in these earbuds before you have to put them back in the case, which is good because the case is heavy. This case for the Powerbeats Pro is just ridiculous. It's heavy, it's giant, and I guess it has to be big because you're holding these earbuds inside, but there's got to be a better way, maybe a less elegant and jewel-like way of presenting these earbuds, but this just doesn't work for me. It makes it really hard to live with, and combined with the ear loops that are on the Powerbeats Pro, they're really great for working out, but they're the hardest to live with overall. Like when I'm commuting, running errands, that kind of thing, these are not the earbuds that I'm going to be reaching for because they're just, you got to loop them around, you got to fit them on. The case is gigantic. It's just not that great for me to live with all the other hours of the week when I'm not running. So this is, they got to do something about this for the next generation. For the rest of these, I think the cases are all nice. The AirPods Pro has, it's a lightning port, but it does have wireless charging, which is convenient, but you know, I'm not that concerned about the convenience of charging in my earbuds. I run with earbuds every day. It's not a big issue for me. Having a small battery is great, so I like these smaller, lighter battery cases, the Jabra Elite 75T and the Jaybird Vista. I think this is probably my favorite case, although sometimes it's a little hard to open with the way it's put, the way it's cut. I find my thumb accidentally holding the case lid closed sometimes. The problem with this one, and I mentioned it in my review of this video, is that the case is like too easy to open and close. There are strong magnets keeping these guys in here, but if you do drop this case, the earbuds are gonna shoot out just because this case opens a little bit too easily. But minor complaint other than that. Battery life that you get relatively quick charging in all of these in case your earbuds are dead when you go to run with them, but they'll have batteries in the case, so that's not usually a huge problem for me. The one other thing that I will note though, and it happened to me with both of the Apple products, the Powerbeats Pro, and it happened once with the AirPods Pro, is that sometimes when I put these in here to charge, they don't actually charge. I think the magnets are not strong enough in the Powerbeats Pro case, and sometimes I really have to like wedge these in there and make sure they're really seated well to get a good charge. And then even then, sometimes I just let it charge like this because I'm worried that when I close it, the lid might hit these ear loops and that it'll affect the charge. I'm not sure why, but I have a lot of hard time keeping these things topped up. It's just really frustrating. One time it happened to me where I went to go use these AirPods Pro, and this earbud, the left one, had no charge in it because for whatever reason, when I put it in here, even though there's a magnet and they click in nicely and the lid keeps it nice and tight, it didn't charge. And so that happened to me one time, not a huge deal. Again, there's fast charging, so I was able to top up relatively quickly, but it's not an issue that I've ever had with any of these earbuds, the Jaybird Vista or the Jabra Elite 2. So the charging mechanism in terms of battery life, much more reliable in those and never had an issue. Next, let's talk about the sound quality. Now, I've tested the sound quality a couple of different ways. I tested him while running, obviously, and also just tested him now sitting in a quiet room, listening to some music, just to kind of get a feel for which has the best sound. For me, the best sound is easily the Jabra Elite 75T. It's just got a rumble to it that I really find pleasant. The music just sounds much more full and enveloping. I love the sound from the Jabra Elite 75T. I think it's very clearly the best sound of the bunch. The next best sound I think comes from the Powerbeats Pro. It just does a really great job of delivering a lot of great audio, and I've really been enjoying listening to music in that one. In terms of the AirPods Pro, the sound quality is good, very good, but it's not as good as the other two that I just mentioned. It's not as good as the Jabra Elite 75T. It's not as good as the Powerbeats Pro. It's very good. And keep in mind, these are the best of the best that I've run with. I've run in a lot of earbuds this year. So to say something is third or fourth isn't a knock. It's just not as good as one or two. Sound quality is just really excellent on the AirPods Pro, just not as good as the Jabra Elite or the Powerbeats Pro. I think fourth is the Jaybird Vista. I just feel like it's not, a lot of you guys have commented this on my Jaybird Vista review, is that the volume just isn't there. And I normally like to test all my earbuds at how well they do at low volumes. And at low volumes, it just feel like there isn't as much fullness to the sound. At higher volumes, I just feel like I'm not getting as much fullness to it. I'm not getting as immersed in the sound when I'm listening to these earbuds. There's something about it. It's not that it's hollow. It's just not robust. It's hard to, I can't show you in a video what things sound like. And it's hard to explain how things sound. So hopefully it makes a little bit of sense what I'm trying to convey. The thing that I do like about the Jaybird Vista and especially the Jabra Elite 75T is that they have customizable EQ. So that way, depending on your listening preferences, you can set the EQ of these earbuds to what you like and what you prefer. You can also set it depending on what kinds of things that you're listening to, country music, jazz, classical, podcast, or hip hop, depending on whatever you're listening to. It can be kind of tweaked for those things, and you can also just change them yourself. The thing that I love about the Jaybird Vista is the app comes with like a hearing test almost, where you don't tell it what you like. You listen to a series of tones, and based on your ability to hear or not hear those tones, it will make the EQ set up for you, which I think is just brilliant and genius. More of these true wireless earbuds in this price range should have that. In very typical Apple fashion, however, the Powerbeats Pro and the AirPods Pro don't have the ability to customize the EQ at all. I don't even think they have apps that you can really use or any settings that you can tweak in any of these in any meaningful kind of way. And I think probably likely the Apple response to why can't I customize the EQ for my hearing is that there's something wrong with your hearing. They haven't said that, but I presume that's what they're thinking. The last thing I'll talk about for all of these is navigation. Now, they're small earbuds. They're supposed to be small. They're supposed to be lightweight. And we also want great battery life for them. And then we also want buttons on them. I like earbuds with buttons on it. I don't like touch sensitive buttons. I don't like swipes and stuff like that because in the wintertime, I'm running with gloves on. I don't want to take the gloves off to be able to navigate with the earbuds. For me, that just doesn't work. So I need a button of some sort, at least if nothing else, just to pause it. The kinds of buttons that I dislike the most are the kinds where I have to poke my ears or poke the earbud further into my ears. The Jabra Elite and the Jaybird Vista both have that type of button. The Jaybird one is more comfortable to press, but harder to more reliably press. Today or yesterday, I was running on a lake. A tourist asked me to take their picture. It was a beautiful kind of sunset going on. And I hit it like a couple of times, 4 or 5 times, trying to get the music to pause. Eventually, the guy didn't speak English anyway. We weren't really communicating. So I just left the music on because I couldn't get it after 4 or 5 like click attempts. Granted, I had my running mittens on and a hat, so a lot of things going on in there, but I had some issues with it. The Jabra Elite 75T has the opposite problem where sometimes just rearranging my hat will be enough to trigger a button press. So I get a lot of accidental button pushes. And even then, when I do want to push it, I feel like I have to push in too much. Maybe I just got to get used to it more, but it's still a little bit painful to work with. The buttons that I really like are the buttons that are on the Airpods Pro and the Powerbeats Pro. The Airpods Pro have a little clicky area on the stem, which I like. So it's kind of like reaching out to your earlobe and just kind of like pinching your earlobe a little bit. Works really well. I can navigate and use that even with my mittens on. I just slide my hand kind of like underneath where my hat is, or it's kind of right at the edge of where my hat is, and hold down to let the pass-through audio on or off, or just tap it to pause music. That works really well for me. Something else that works really well for me because it's an Apple product is that the voice assistant works really well. The Jaybird and the Jabra, you have to click buttons and then the voice assistant will turn on. At least that's how I've been able to use it. I can't seem to just like yell out my prompt for my voice assistant and get it to work. I can do that without yelling, but I have to talk relatively loud, and it's a little bit goofy if there's other people around me. When I say the prompt and then say increase volume or decrease volume or fast forward 30 seconds, rewind 30 seconds, those are like the kind of commands that I would kind of yell out, and that works really well. So I like being able to interact with those that way. With the Powerbeats Pro, they're so big that they have room to put buttons. Not only are there clicky buttons that you have to push that way, which is not great, but they have a volume rocker on the top, which I really like. For all these other earbuds, the true wireless earbuds, there's no way of easily changing the volume. Some of them have ways where you could like long press and that increases volume. That doesn't really work all that well for me. I don't really like that because again, that hurts. I mean, it's this is what you're doing. That's not ergonomic in any sort of way. So having the volume rocker on the Powerbeats Pro is really, really nice to live with. I really appreciate having that. Navigation is not the death of an earbud for me, but it's something that is important. Overall, I would say of these 4, the best earbud to come out in 2019, it's really close between the AirPods Pro and the Jabra Elite 75T. I think because the sound quality is better, I like the Jabra Elite 75T just a little bit more. The AirPods Pro did a little bit better in the sweat test, so depending on how much time you're spending in the gym, that might skew which one you like the most. But because I'm going to be spending most of the time running outside with a winter hat on and not really worrying about sweat or the earbuds falling out, not that any of them have ever fallen out, the Jabra Elite 75T, I think, is my choice for 2019 true wireless earbud of the year. But dark horse, a new challenger emerges. I think the best value in 2019 is actually a set of earbuds from 2018, the Jabra Elite 65T. Right now you can get, I'm assuming stock's gonna get wiped out relatively soon, but right now you can get the Jabra Elite 65T, which is a little bit bigger than the 75T, a little bit heavier, but very capable, a very great set of earbuds for $100. And at $100, that's just an amazing amount of value that you're getting in the earbud. So I think the best value of 2019 is the 2018 Jabra Elite 65T. And I think my favorite earbud of 2019, not even considering price, is the Jabra Elite 75T. So quite a bit of a surprise for me that that's the way it worked out, but Jabra is doing fantastic things in the true wireless earbud space. And that's all I have to say about true wireless earbuds in 2019. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, have some others that you think that I haven't reviewed yet this year that I need to take a look at. I'd love to learn more about what you guys are running in. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down there. I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit more. Before I go, I want to talk about the charity runner for this week. This week it's Tommy Hackett, who just finished the Seattle Marathon, raising money for the Pat Tillman Foundation, which helps veterans and their families. I was happy to donate $70 to Tommy's fundraising efforts, and I'll post a link in the description in case you would like to learn more. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I will see you tomorrow.
Yo, what's going on?